Hey guys, here we are again for another lesson on our distance learning. Doing a little bit more with our least common multiples, which we will eventually start calling our common denominators. That's where we're headed towards. But we want to make sure that y'all get good at it and know how to do it further. So hopefully you've already done the first practice. And the steps that we did in the first one, we're going to do basically the same steps in these. Notice we start with trinomials, polynomials. We have more than one term. We're going to be doing our factoring first because we want to be able to find the common factors. And just looking at these, it's hard to tell what the factors are. So let's first factor each one. So in this first trinomial, I notice each of my terms has a common 4. So if I take out a 4, I'm left with a squared minus 3a minus 4. Now I can continue to factor that because I still have a trinomial, so I'm going to try to factor it using, if you were with me before or you were in my class, you know we talk about the double chin method. Hopefully you've done enough factoring you're not having to do that double chin method still. But if you do, go ahead. Start with our 4, and we know we want factors of 4 that will add or subtract to be 3. So we're going to use the factors of 4 and 1. 4 and 1 will give me a negative 3 if my 4 is negative and my 1 is positive. So now I'm completely factored. I'm going to do the same thing over here, looking for common factors. Between all three, I have a common a. So when I take out my a, I have an a squared minus 9a plus 20. Now we do the same thing. Don't lose your a. Now we're going to do factors of a, and then I need factors of 20 that will give me 9. So factors of 20 are 4 and 5. To get a negative 9, I need a negative 4 and a negative 5 so that they add together to give you negative 9. When I multiply them together, I get positive 20, and that's exactly what I want. So we're going to do just like we did before. We're going to draw our little upside down division bar, and then we're going to divide, looking for what's common in both of these two giant things or clusters of factors. Notice this has an a minus 4 and this one has an a minus 4. So I can factor out a common a minus 4. And when I take the a minus 4 out of here, divide it out, I'm going to be left with a 4 and an a plus 1. When I take my a minus 4 out of this one and it's gone, I'm going to be left with an a and an a minus 5. Now between these two, I don't have anything left over. There's no other common factor, so I know I'm finished. In our last session, we would have talked about the GCF, and we would have said this is the greatest common factor, and we'd have circled it with a G and wrote out greatest common factor. But today we're not doing that. We're doing least common multiple. So remember that was the L part, or these things that are all going to be multiplied together. So for our LCM, when we multiply these together, I like to take the monomials, or the coefficients and numbers in front. So we're going to take our 4 times a, and then we're left with all of our binomials. So a minus 4 times a plus 1 times a minus 5. And remember, the order doesn't matter of what you put these. We like to have the monomials in the front just because it makes it easier to find and you don't lose them along the way. But that is your least common multiple. We will be headed towards eventually adding and solving and things, and we'll want a common denominator, and that's what we'll begin to call this, is our common denominator. So we have a couple more for us to practice just to get good at it. Give you a few more examples to look at as well. Notice in this first one, I look again for common factors. Between 3 and 9, I have a common 3. And between y squared and y, I could take out a y. I'll be left with a y and a minus 9. On the second one, whoops, I took a 3 out, so I don't have a 9, I have a 3. So a y minus 3. Good catch for those of you that noticed. When I factor here, there's nothing common in all three of these, so I'm going to have a y and a y. And then factors of 15 that will give me 8 would be 5 and 3. To get a negative 8, they both need to be negative. Plus that'll give me a positive 15. Now that I have everything factored, we start looking for our commons. What are the common factors? Well, notice I have a x minus 3 and I have an x minus 3. Y minus 3. So I take out a y minus 3. When that's gone from here, I have left a 3y. When it's gone from here, I have left a y minus 5. Notice I'm wrapping these in parentheses to remind us that is a quantity. You can't break that apart. At this step, we don't have a common y anymore because this y has the 5 attached to it, and it has to. So those are my least common multiple. Remember, we multiply all those together. We will have 3y times y minus 3 times y minus 5. Okay, if you still need to hang on for a bit, I have a couple more examples for you just to see different types if you'd like. If you get the hang of it, that's perfectly fine. If you go ahead and stop and get started on your assignment, make sure if you have questions that you check out either my Hangout or one of the other teachers' Hangouts. We have 5 throughout the day, so jump on and ask questions as you have them. We would love to have you. So, number 3, common factor. We have a common factor of an x. I have left x squared minus 6x minus 16. Factor that. X and x. Factors of 16, that will give me 6. Well, factors of 16 are 8 and 2. To give me a negative 6, I need a negative 8 and a positive 2. I factor this. That just factors straight. It's perfect squares. So hopefully from the lesson we did a while back, you know you have x and x. Factors of 4 would be 2 and 2, 1's plus, 1's minus. Once everything's factored, we look for the common. Both of these both have an x minus 2. So I will take my x minus 2 out. Sorry, x plus 2. When I take my x plus 2 out, I'm left with an x and an x minus 8. Here, I'm left with an x minus 2. No common factors. So therefore, remember, our LCM comes from the L part of our little graphic organizer. So we have our LCM is the constant x, or the monomial, and then our x minus 8, our x plus 2, and our x minus 2. And remember, it doesn't matter what order that you have your 3 factors in, or 4 factors, just so long as you have them all there. Okay? So one more example. Notice we have bigger numbers. Don't let the bigger numbers throw you off or confuse you. Between 6, 21, and 12, well, 6 is not a common factor, but 3 is. So I would take out a 3 and be left with a 2x squared, a 7x, and a 4, minus 4. Now we try to factor that. Factors of 2x squared would be 2x and x. And then factors of 4, well, I need to get a 7. So with my 4, I could do 4 and 1, or I could do 2 and 2. Well, first off, I know it's not 2 and 2 because if I put a 2 here, do you see how this has a common factor? And if this has a common factor, then this should have. But since the first one didn't, I know the second one cannot. So I know it's not going to be a 2. And I know I can't put my 4 here. So I'm going to put my 4 here and my 1 there. And notice, using our double chin, that gives us an 8x and an x, 1x, which will give me a 7 if the 8 part is positive and the 1 part is negative. Remember, the cool part about that double chin is if you write it neatly with your pencil, you could then erase it and nobody knows that we did it. But we look like we know how to factor. Or we do know how to factor. It just, they think we did it in our head. Same thing over here, common factor. I look for a 4. I'd like to get rid of it, but notice 4 doesn't go into 22. But I do know that 2 goes into all of those. So I'm going to have 2x squared plus 11x plus a 12. So let's try to factor that. Factors of 2x squared will be 2x and x. Factors of 12. that give me 11. So to get 12, I have 6 and 2, I have 1 and 12, and I have 3 and 4. Well, since 11, if I did 6 and 2, remember, 2, no common factor, can't put that there. 6, can't put that there. So 6 and 2 are pretty much out. If I put a 12 here and a 1 here, notice that'll give me 2 and 12, which 2 from 12 is either 14 or 10, which jumps right over the 11. So therefore, I must be 3 and 1. Sorry, 3 and 4. So same reason we can't put a 4 here, we'll put our 4 here and our 3 here. So let's see if that works. This gives me 8x. This gives me 3x. 8 and 3 give me 11, so I know I'm good to go. Remember my signs, I need a positive, so I need to add both of these. This will be plus, and this will be plus. With our double chin pencil, we can erase our double chin and then go look for our common factors. What's common between those? Notice this one has an x plus 4, and so does this one. So I can take out an x plus 4. Remember, every time we take a factor out, we wrap it in parentheses. So when I factor this one out, I'm left with 3 times 2x minus 1. Over here, when I take out my x plus 4, I'm left with 2 times 2x plus 3. No more common factors. Everything is now separate. So remember, the L part gives us our LCM, which my monomials, 3 and 2, I can multiply together and get 6. And then I'm left with my x plus 4, my 2x minus 1, and my 2x plus 3. Remembering order does not matter. Okay? So you will have a handout for practice. There's not an iExcel that goes with this, so you'll need to make sure that you look for the handout, either download it or you can do your work on another sheet of paper and upload it onto your teacher's Google Classroom. So if you need to join our Hangouts, remember Mr. Cleland's at 9, I am at 11, Miss Blatt is at 1, and Miss DeMonbruin is at 2, and I have another one again at 7. So if you have any questions over your LCM, because it's super important as we get ready to start doing some addition subtraction, because we know we need that common denominator. Okay? So until then, stay safe, wash your hands, make sure you're practicing your social distancing, and good luck to you. Take care. Bye-bye.